Hello everyone and welcome to Moonlit Reflections. This is my review series, and while I'm currently playing end of the year catch-up, I like to think I go into enough detail about these games and analyze them enough to make the reviews worth watching. Today I present to you the review for Cuphead. So, here goes. Cuphead is a 2D indie game that uses run and gun along with platforming elements to create a very unique game, especially in this era. It was developed and published by Studio MDHR and is their very first game. They worked so hard on Cuphead that the brothers who founded the studio quit their jobs and remortgaged their houses. Luckily for them, though, it was worth it, as the game sold 1 million copies in the first 2 weeks. The game was even the subject of controversy and the springboard for various discussions in the gaming sphere, such as, do game journalists need to be good at video games? And, due to its immense difficulty level, had various game journalists questioning the merits of games being extremely difficult, as well as whether or not we, as gamers, are entitled to beat the game simply because we paid for it. Quite the sensational bit of media for such a small game. But what about the game itself and its merits? Well, that's what I'll explore for you here, just in case you haven't played this yet, or you're just interested in my opinions of it. The game is available on Xbox One and PC, but I played the PC version using a controller, so that's the version I'll be reviewing for you. This game has a pretty simple story. Cuphead and his friend Mugman, who can be played by a second player, wander off to the wrong side of the tracks and into the Devil's Casino. Cuphead does some major gambling and gets indebted to the Devil himself. Devil gives Cuphead a deal, either collect the souls of other debtors, or get his own soul taken away. I realize this is a very simple summary, but really, that's about all there is to it. Hey, not every game needs a complex premise, right? The look of Cuphead borrows very heavily from old-style cartoons from around the 20s and 30s. Everything looks very bright and cute, but also has a darker subtext to it. It even goes so far as to use film grain and old silent movie title cards for the levels. It's truly done in a brilliant way. The level design and boss stage designs are very simple, being that they are pretty much 2D. Many people nowadays might scoff at a game not having 3D graphics, but I honestly think that graphics need to fit the genre of the game they're in, and a cartoony game like this being fully 3D would be sort of counterintuitive in my opinion. Not to mention platforming and 3D tend to rarely get along perfectly, so I'd say this setup is ideal. This being sort of a cartoon world, very few characters are anything close to human. Most are objects with arms and legs protruding from them and having faces drawn on. Again, this uses the cute yet creepy thing to full effect. I'd say the bosses are where the artistic genius of this game shines most. They all have multiple forms, each more strange than the next. A lot of them also have these characteristics where you're not sure whether to laugh or to be afraid. It's absolutely perfect. My only gripe with the way the game handles its graphics are in the projectiles. I realize it's a run and gun and projectiles are important, but between your shooting and the boss shooting 1 million different things at you, the screen can get very cluttered very fast. This is even worse in 2-player mode. Maybe it's better I don't have any friends to play this game with, huh? Really though, this is a pretty minor drawback, and I'd say the graphics are very close to perfect, especially for how well they fit the game. Like the graphics, the music of Cuphead is very much based on old cartoon music, as well as just the general swing style of the 20s and 30s. It might not be the type of music you would listen to just on its own, but a game's soundtrack is meant to add atmosphere to the game itself, and on that front, it certainly succeeds. Granted, most of the music isn't quite the stuff you can really hum, or that gets fully stuck in your head, with the exceptions of the overworld theme and the intro theme, probably because you hear them so many times. I think it's a testament to how good the music and sounds of this game are, that even though the game's difficulty makes it so you will hear the music over and over again, they're not annoying. That's quite a rare feat. The game doesn't have much in the way of voice acting, mostly just noises of bosses, along with the hello/goodbye of the shopkeeper. However, it's not something the game really needs. Truth be told, I would much prefer this style of doing things where you have simple text boxes and a few voice clips over a group of amateurs doing god awful voice acting. So, yeah, the sound is great for what it is, which is all that's necessary in the end. The gameplay is indeed where Cuphead shines. It's as if its cute mascot character is saying to you, "Hey, look over here at some unique, most likely nostalgic gameplay." And as you do, a strange looking monster pops up and yells, "Now die, and you will keep dying until you get this right." Yep, this is indeed the part of the game that has a ton of controversy surrounding it. You see, the mainstream gaming press penned articles worrying that the game was quote unquote too hard and thus uninclusive. It even pushed disabled people into the mix, saying it'll be bad for them, they might want to play games too. And I have to say, as a disabled person myself, I didn't appreciate that one bit. It's like saying we have to have things made easier for us instead of doing what every other gamer does, taking their lack of ability and working hard until it no longer stops you. Not only that, but the way I figure it, if you can't play a game normally, then maybe it's just not for you and you shouldn't bother. See, games are art, and while the graphics and sound are what most would say are the artistic part of the game, I will argue that gameplay can be just as important to that artistic expression. See, unlike a painting, a video game is meant to be experienced, and having the designers compromise their vision to be inclusive is just like telling an artist to only paint with certain colors because some people are colorblind. By the way, I see nothing wrong with having an easy mode in games and people playing that easy mode, but that's if it's already there. The public shouldn't have it crowbarred in. People saying things like you should be able to just skip boss fights is just insulting to the designers. Now that that little tirade is out of the way, the gameplay is partially a run-and-gun platformer type deal, but mostly it is more of a shoot-'em-up wherein you fight multiple boss monsters. Not like the debtors are just gonna nod and give up their souls willingly after all. Pretty much every boss fight has multiple forms, each harder than the other, and while you're trying to damage them with your bullets, they're constantly shooting their own things at you, as well as putting out obstacles for you to maneuver around. The bosses are indeed quite merciless, and when you die, you have to start all over again from the first phase of the fight. However, this game doesn't use the live system while it's borrowing from various retro gaming styles, thankfully. So you have unlimited tries. The game does keep track, though, and you can check how many times you've failed on a part of the overworld. Speaking of, the game uses an overworld sort of layout for you to get to the boss fight/platforming levels, similar to a Super Mario 3 type deal. The overworld also has mausoleums where you use your parrying skill to protect a vase from ghosts in order to learn new super moves, as well as a store to spend all the coins you get in platforming levels. The coins are limited though, so it's important that you choose your buffs carefully. Being able to buy new ways to shoot the baddies is a great thing though. So yes, the gameplay is indeed punishing and unforgiving. It relies on you learning patterns, avoiding attacks, and knowing when to attack yourself. This is why it has a bunch of people comparing it to Dark Souls, as that has a similar sort of pattern, albeit quite different gameplay. I will say that this sort of thing is certainly not for everyone, but if you are patient and willing, a fun, albeit frustrating, experience awaits you. Actually, I'd say it's the frustration the game brings that makes it that much more enjoyable. That bit of time where you've tried a boss time after time, you've almost beaten it, but it suddenly changes into its final form and it launches stuff at you that you had no idea was coming and had no clue how to defend against it. But then, eventually, you get into a sort of perfect state of being, where you have fast reflexes, you know what to expect, and you're able to avoid all the badness, and you finally beat that boss. It is a euphoria that very few games nowadays offer. You worked hard and gained skill, you got good, as they say, and were rewarded as such. Though sometimes you're rewarded with only a C rank. Yes, the game does grade you. But hey, you can try again for a better score if you like. As I said, it's not for everyone, but for those of us who can tolerate it, it is quite entertaining. As you've no doubt gleaned already, my opinion of Cuphead is quite favorable. The visuals and sound that set up a demented cartoon world are quite unique. I also find the gameplay to be challenging, but not so challenging that it bars entry. At least not if you're willing to be patient and are able to master the scale of pattern recognition, along with having some good reflexes, which I'd argue are the true test of a skilled gamer. Of course, I'm not going to be the elitist type that says, well, if you can't play this game well, you don't belong in the gaming world. I don't believe that at all. I think that there are many types of games, and if you like games that are true tests of reflexes and endurance and concentration, then I believe you will enjoy Cuphead. Besides that, it's only $20, which is well worth it in my opinion. I'd even go so far as to say, please support the developers, because it's obvious they poured their hearts and souls into this, and I believe game development needs a lot more of that, especially in this world of microtransactions, loot boxes, and pre-order culture. Well then, I hope you've enjoyed this review, and if you have any suggestions for future reviews or general feedback, please feel free to comment and or use my various social media links. If you liked the video, then hitting the like button would help me out. And lastly, if you have the means and desire, please consider donating to this channel via the link in the description. It would help out way more than you know. So, thank you again very much, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.